The world of Ghost of Tsushima captured our hearts in 2020. Now Sucker Punch is taking us to a completely different era of Japanese history, with new combat, a fresh protagonist, and some of the most beautiful environments we have ever seen in gaming. This is Ghost of Yōtei, and it's about to set a new standard for what PS5 games can achieve. Let's cut right to the chase and address the elephant in the room. Can Ghost of Yōtei possibly live up to the monumental success of Ghost of Tsushima? We're talking about a game that sold 2.4 million copies in just 3 days and went on to hit nearly 10 million sales globally. Those are the kind of numbers that don't just happen every other day. But Sucker Punch isn't just trying to replicate that success. No, they are aiming to surpass it. Ghost of Yōtei isn't playing it safe with a direct sequel. Instead, they're taking the boldest leap possible. 329 years into the future, landing us in 1603 Japan.
People come north to disappear.
This isn't just a different time period, it is an entirely different cultural landscape. While Ghost of Tsushima gave us the familiar samurai versus invader narrative, Yōtei is diving into the complex political and cultural dynamics of Hokkaido, or as it was known then, Izo. This setting alone could give the game the edge it needs to stand apart from its predecessor. The development team's commitment to authenticity is next level. They didn't just Google cool Japanese mountains and call it a day. No, they physically went to Mount Yōtei, stood there recording nature sounds in Shiritoko National Park, and soaked in every detail they could. This is the same dedication that made Ghost of Tsushima feel so authentic, but now they're applying it to a setting that's rarely explored in gaming. But here's where things get really interesting, and where Yōtei might actually surpass Tsushima. Our new protagonist Atsu, voiced by the phenomenal Erika Ishii, represents a dramatic shift from Jin Sakai. While Jin's story was compelling, it was relatively linear. With Atsu, Sucker Punch is promising more player agency in how the story unfolds. This could be the secret ingredient that pushes Ghost of Yōtei beyond its predecessor's success. In an era where players crave meaningful choices and consequences, this evolution in storytelling could be exactly what the series needs.
But you are hunting.
Remember how Ghost of Tsushima's world made your jaw drop? Well, Ghost of Yōtei is about to make that look like a warm-up act. Izo in 1603 wasn't just another Japanese province, it was practically a different world, and Sucker Punch is leveraging every ounce of the PS5's power to bring it to life. The game's world is pushing boundaries that the original couldn't even dream of. Those sprawling grasslands and snow-covered tundras aren't just pretty backdrops. They're going to fundamentally change how players navigate and survive in this world. The technical achievements here are staggering. Massive sightlines that let you spot landmarks from ridiculous distances, dynamic weather systems that affect gameplay, and the most realistic wind effects you've ever seen in a game. This is what happens when you build exclusively for PS5 instead of straddling console generations. But what really sets this world apart, and what might give it the edge over Tsushima, is its untamed nature. Ghost of Tsushima's world was gorgeous, but it was still ultimately a structured, civilized space with clear rules and boundaries. Izo is the wild frontier, where different cultures clash and survive against both each other and the elements. This creates opportunities for environmental storytelling and gameplay mechanics that simply weren't possible in the more ordered world of Tsushima. The diversity of the landscape also promises something that Ghost of Tsushima couldn't quite deliver: true environmental variety. While Tsushima had its share of different biomes, Yōtei's setting naturally incorporates more extreme variations. From volcanic regions around Mount Yōtei to the harsh tundras of northern Izo, each area promises to be distinctly different, not just in appearance, but in how players need to approach traversal and survival. While this gorgeous world is definitely going to drop jaws, what's really going to make you lose your mind is how you'll actually fight in it. Now, the introduction of firearms might raise some eyebrows amongst purists, but it is historically accurate for the period and promises to add new layers of strategic depth without compromising the core sword fighting experience that made the original so compelling. The combat system isn't just being expanded, it's being fundamentally rethought. While Ghost of Tsushima's stance-based combat was revolutionary for its time, games like Sekiro and Rise of the Ronin have since pushed the envelope even further. Sucker Punch isn't just keeping pace, they are aiming to leapfrog the competition with a combat system that integrates traditional swordplay, firearms, and possibly even supernatural elements in ways we haven't seen before. One of the most intriguing additions is the hinted relationship with wildlife. That wolf encounter in the trailer isn't just for show. It suggests a whole new dimension of gameplay that could set Ghost of Yōtei apart not just from its predecessors, but from every other game in the genre. If Sucker Punch can successfully implement systems for interacting with and possibly even commanding wildlife, it could create combat scenarios that make Ghost of Tsushima's most epic moments look tame in comparison. The emphasis on player choice extends to combat as well. While Ghost of Tsushima gradually opened up more options as you progressed, Yōtei promises to give players more freedom in how they approach combat situations from the very start. This could be the key to surpassing the original success, by giving players more agency in both story and gameplay. Yōtei could create the kind of deeply personal playing experience that drives word-of-mouth recommendations and long-term engagement. But all these incredible combat mechanics wouldn't mean half as much without the rich cultural backdrop they are built on. And this is where Ghost of Yōtei truly shows its ambition, and potentially where it could most dramatically surpass its predecessor. While Ghost of Tsushima told a compelling story of samurai honor versus necessity, Yōtei is diving into a far more complex cultural landscape. The interaction between the Matsume clan and the indigenous Ainu people creates opportunities for nuanced storytelling that goes beyond the relatively straightforward narrative of the original game. The historical setting of 1603 is a masterstroke of timing as well. This was exactly when the Matsume clan was formalizing its control over Izo, creating a perfect storm of political intrigue, cultural conflict, and personal drama. Unlike the black and white conflict of the Mongol invasion in Tsushima, this setting offers shades of gray that could result in far more compelling storytelling. The complex trade relationships between the Matsume and Ainu, combined with the cultural tensions, provide fertile ground for a narrative that could make Ghost of Tsushima's story seem simple in comparison. Sucker Punch's commitment to cultural authenticity, already demonstrated in Tsushima, is being taken to new heights. They're not just recreating historical Japan, they're bringing to life a unique moment in time when multiple cultures existed in a delicate balance. The potential for exploring Ainu traditions, beliefs, and ways of life could give Ghost of Yōtei the kind of cultural depth that not only surpasses its predecessor, but sets new standards for historical gaming narratives. Now, you might be wondering how they're bringing all this cultural authenticity to life. Well, this is where the PS5's power comes into play, and trust me, you are not ready for this.
And now, every Ronin here is after you.
Remember those gorgeous particle effects in Tsushima? They look like a child's sparkler compared to what we're seeing in Yōtei. The game isn't just using the PS5's power, it's unleashing capabilities we didn't even know the console had. First up, let's talk about the combat system. The DualSense integration isn't just some gimmicky vibration. We're talking about adaptive triggers that let you feel the difference between firing a bow, blocking a heavy attack, or executing a perfect parry. When you're sneaking through the snow, you can feel the crunch under your feet. Drawing your blade, the controller creates a unique sensation that mirrors the metallic slide of steel leaving its scabbard. But here is where things get really crazy. You know those annoying invisible walls in most games? Gone. Completely gone. The PS5's processing power means if you can see that mountain in the distance, you can climb it. No loading screens, no texture pop-in, no compromises. The draw distance is so massive that you can spot enemy encampments from actual miles away and plan your approach accordingly. The weather system deserves its own highlight reel as well. We're not just talking about pretty rain effects or dynamic snow. The game tracks your footprints in the snow, and get this, those tracks can be followed by both allies and enemies. Blizzards don't just look pretty, they affect visibility, movement speed, and even how sound travels across the environment. Fighting in a snowstorm feels completely different from combat on a clear day, and you'll need to adapt your strategies accordingly. Now, let's get real for a minute about what Ghost of Yōtei represents for the future of gaming. This isn't just another pretty samurai game, it's showing us what happens when developers finally break free from last-gen constraints. The game features a dynamic ecosystem where animals actually behave like real creatures, not just scripted NPCs walking in circles. That wolf you saw in the trailer? Part of a pack that actually hunts, establishes territory, and reacts to your presence in meaningful ways. Sucker Punch is pushing boundaries with their approach to storytelling as well. The game uses a revolutionary dynamic dialogue system that remembers every choice you make, every NPC you help or hinder, and adjusts the story accordingly. No more binary good/bad choices. We're talking about subtle shifts in how the world perceives Atsu based on your actions. NPCs will remember if you showed mercy or chose violence, and their reactions will ripple through the game's narrative in ways we haven't seen before. But the most exciting part? This is just what they've shown us so far. The developers have been teasing features they haven't even revealed yet, including a mysterious multiplayer component that could redefine how we think about online play in story-driven games. There are whispers about a dynamic mission system that creates unique scenarios based on your playing style, and a world that actually evolves over time based on player actions. When Ghost of Yōtei launches later this year, it won't just be competing with other samurai games, it's positioning itself as the game that shows what true next-gen gaming can be. And based on everything that we've seen so far, it might just set standards that the industry will be chasing for years to come. Being Sucker Punch's first game built from the ground up for the PS5, it's pushing the hardware in ways that the PS4-era Ghost of Tsushima simply couldn't. The visual fidelity isn't just an incremental improvement, it is a generational leap that could make the original look dated by comparison. But you know what's wild? This is just the beginning of our Ghost of Yōtei coverage. If you're as hyped as I am about this game, be sure to smash that subscribe button down below and ring that bell. Also, drop a comment down below and let me know what excites you the most about Ghost of Yōtei. Is it the new setting, maybe the combat system? Or maybe you're just dying to know if we'll see any connections to Jin Sakai's story. And hey, if you enjoyed this breakdown, be sure to click that like button. It really helps the channel and lets me know that you want more content like this.